is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomennl.com.
Well, welcome back. Another episode here of the Next Level Loan Officers podcast, the number one podcast for loan officers by loan officers anywhere across the country. You know, we say that, Sean, because we are, we're like you. We are loan officers who are in the trenches every day, dealing with the same market, the same rates, the same realtors, the same situations that all of our listeners are listening to. And I'll tell you, we don't take that lightly, right? Like that's something that we talk about a lot on here that we really pride ourselves on is, you know, being on the ground and understanding what loan officers are facing on a day-to-day basis. Sean Z, do you agree?
You know, the number one thing that I think we're all trying to do right now is gain eyeballs from realtors, which we're trying to gain their attention. And yes, so I mean, I couldn't agree more because it's a big struggle. We've got actually a realtor series that we're about to release for some podcasts, and it is I sat down with 3 realtors, and I've just asked them questions about, like, you know, what do you do? What do loan officers do to get in front of you? What do loan officers do to earn your business? How do these things work, you know, to move the needle? And they're all telling me that right now there is never been a time in their career where more loan officers are reaching out and trying to get in front of them.
Yep.
And so, you know, this may be something you have a realtor that, you know, you're just trying to break bread with and get in front of. It might be somebody you've been working on for 3 years and they still haven't sent you a deal. So, like, how do we accomplish this? How do you accomplish this? And Kellen and myself, so we start earning their business, like, because there's things that you just have to do to stay in front of them. And then, like, where are the lines in the sand? Where's the ultimatums? How do you get from a casual acquaintance to dating to this realtor wants to be married to you as their loan officer and send you all of their business?
Yeah, it's a great conversation, Sean. I mean, I'm stuttering through my words because I'm like, this is kind of like the keys to the kingdom, right? If you can master this piece of it, then the reality is that there's not a lot in this business that you can't do, because this is the hardest part. I mean, hands down, this is the hardest part. This is where, you know, we really begin to separate those who try to those who can, right? So, you know, I'll start off, and I know you've got a lot of information on this too, but I'll start off with a couple of just high-level thoughts as it pertains to referral partners. These are things that have helped me. Maybe they'll help a listener, and maybe you guys have your own systems too, but for those of you that don't or are looking for something different. So first and foremost, for me, I have to have a what I would consider a narrowed down view of the ocean, right? There's a vast sea of of realtors that are out there to do business with, right? And I can't be all things to all agents, and I can't go after all of them at the same time. So for me, I like just, again, my small brain, I have to have kind of a smaller pool of which I'm working. And I'll kind of talk about that in just a second. So for me, that number typically hovers around 50. And these are just, again, all I'm doing is narrowing my universe down to that number. That way I'm not just trying to do everything, be everybody's friend, be all things. I find that that's not super efficient. So for me, that's my universe, right? Now, within that universe, my goal is to begin to segment those agents based on how much time, attention, and resources I dedicate to them. And I won't go through kind of my whole process, but basically there's kind of like 3 tiers, and agents move around, and some can move up and some can move out. And that 50 is not a static list either. There are agents that I take in, and there are agents that I take out of that list. But it generally is around that number. So I'll give you just a quick example. Like there may be agents that I'm like, oh, I really want to work with them, but maybe I'm just not there yet. Meaning we just met or we just kind of connected or whatever the reasoning is. I might just drop them into my private Facebook group. Like I might just stick them in there and I might just kind of let them marinate inside that environment for a little while. That would be a low touch, potentially high impact deal because it could be high impact in some of the things like resources I do them or videos, but it's low touch on my standpoint. I don't have to really do anything. I'm not super involved. However, then I have agents that are like my rock stars who send me every single deal. We do everything together. And so, I'm calling them, I'm texting them, I'm sending handwritten notes. We're going to lunch together. We each pay our own lunch bill as to not violate the RESPAs. But again, that's high touch, high quality, high impact stuff. So you can't be high touch, high quality, high impact to every single person, or then you're not, right? So I'll let you kind of expand on this, but that's kind of my initial pass is like, hey, narrow your universe down to something manageable. Then take that universe and begin to kind of divide it up into how you want to spend your energy communicating with those people.
So, and I fish in two buckets. I fish in a well, and it's even more narrow than Kellen's. It's like 20 or 25 agents that I have dropped in there that I'm like heavily going after, direct messaging them on Facebook, calling and reaching out. And then I've got my other list of a couple thousand agents that I would potentially do business with if they raise their hand. And so I'm hitting them both differently. So like one of the things, like, details matter. Like what do you do consistently? So, Mondays I send out a rate email. Fridays I send out something of value. Here's a product that you could use for your business. Here's something that I help you with, like my $5,000 guarantee. Kellen's got a $10,000 guarantee. Or a class that's coming up. I teach at least 6 classes that I personally teach a year. It's great if you have another expert that can do it, then have them teach it as well too. So I'm playing in 2 different ponds. I'm playing in a really narrow pond, and then I'm playing in an ocean. And it's because I'm always just casting that net differently, because there could be somebody that I don't even know in that ocean, but like, they all of a sudden raise their hand. Now, you have to understand when you're sending those mass emails out, like some people are like, I did it, it didn't work, and I'm never going to do it again. So let me tell you something. Thousands of emails go out for me a week to realtors. Kellen, you know how many people respond?
1.
Maybe. Almost nobody responds to those emails. But you know what? That's not the point. If I am not casting that net to them, there is no other way they're ever going to raise their hand. I have 2 new realtor relationships. One that I got on spring break, referred me this $400,000+ VA loan because his loan officer went out of business. And then I have somebody that I reached out to me last weekend, and their buyer reached out to me. And like, I had to go look this person up because I'd never heard of his name before, but I've been marketing to him. And so that's another $400,000 conventional loan, which, in St. Louis, those are jumbo loans. So,
Sean, let me say this too real quick, because I think this is an important point that you just made about the other loan officer going out of business, right? Not only is that happening, but what I think we're going to find too is you're going to have a lot of agents who were on the cusp of part-time, full-time, dropping down into that kind of more part-time role. And so here's the deal. They may have another loan officer that they do business with.
Yeah.
And that loan officer may pull back from marketing to them because maybe they don't have as many deals. And this is where I think you being consistent in your efforts and continuing to communicate with them and continuing to talk with them, again, low effort on your part, right? I'm just adding their name to an email list, but potentially high impact. And what the goal is that the next time they do get a deal, you want them to be like, who was the last who was that last loan officer that sent me that email? Oh yeah, Sean Z. I'm gonna give him a message, right? I'm gonna shoot him an email, right? Like, I think that's going to be an interesting phenomenon as not only many loan officers get out of the business, but as these realtors throttle back as well.
I mean, here's the deal. We all hoped rates were going to be coming down about now. We all were planning based on what a lot of people were telling us that the second half of 2023 rates were going to be cheaper. Let me just tell you now, rates are not coming down in 2023. The Fed has telegraphed 2 more rate hikes. When the Fed is saying they're hiking rates, rates aren't going to come down. Now, we all know that Fed rate hikes are not a direct correlation to mortgage rates, but until the Fed signals they're done, the market is going to be cautious and rates will not move down significantly. So a lot of these refis, all these things that we thought we were going to have in 2023, friends, they're not going to happen. So you got to get the eyeballs on you. That also means a lot of our competition, Kellen, just like you were saying, is going to go going to go away. The part-time realtors, they're always going to be the part-time realtors because their husband or their wife has a great job, or they're just independently wealthy and they can do it. But a lot of those realtors who are like, oh man, it's so easy. And then it was, and then rates went above 4% and they'd never had a deal that they closed above 4%, or they had to negotiate on contracts or actually do anything other than just list the property, then like all of that is a little bit different now. So you got to be casting this net, however you do it. You've got to be consistent with it. And the goal is to stay in front of them. It's not how many people respond. I get about a 40% open rate and then about a 0.3 to 0 to 0.3% response rate. Like, it's cool. That's not the purpose of it when you're doing it. So now the other thing, like, so we teach these classes, we draw some people in, but then there's some people, like 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, they like you, they say hi to you, and you're just not getting their business. And so like, it's like, man, Kellen takes my call when I call. Like, man, I've been out to lunch with him where we both paid for like
separate checks
times. We have coffee together. Like, what's the deal? So sometimes like you just have to be really direct. Sometimes it turns out, man, Kellen just actually really likes me a lot and I'm charming. So, I have that effect on people. But then like, I've never asked Kellen directly, hey man, what can I do to get your next referral? And sometimes Kellen's like, oh man, you've never asked me for it. And so you're like, holy smoke, that's very intriguing. Maybe I need to do that more. Another thing, and Kellen might be like, dude, my brother has been a loan officer for 15 years. He gets all my business. Then you think to yourself, it's like, why the heck have I been going out to lunch and doing all this stuff? You got to take your hand and slap yourself across the face because you should have asked that question at the first or second meeting about who they're using.
Well, that's it. That's back to my list, right? I mean, that's the reality. That's why people come and go. That's why the list changes. It's always fluid. It's ever changing. And I'll tell you this too, Sean, because you mentioned it about a lot of these agents going part-time. I've made a lot of money closing loans for agents that do 3 deals a year, right? So don't let that be a deterrent for the folks out here listening. Like, it doesn't always have to be a whale. It doesn't always have to be a grand slam. Right now, we're batting singles. Anybody that we can get a hold of that's looking to buy a house and can get qualified for a loan, regardless of the agent. And just keep in mind that some of those agents, maybe 2 to 3 deal a year people now, and that's okay. We just have to be cognizant of our resource allocation for them.
So Kellen, the guy that was referred to me when we were on spring break, he rehabbed some properties. He's got a couple properties. And so we just got that first deal under contract. They were selling a house little ways outside of town and moving to St. Louis. And so they finally just sold that house. And when we got him under contract, I did my spiel. We did the $5,000 guarantee. I called the listing agent. I sent a video to the listing agent to share with their sellers. Also sent that video to the buyer and to the buyer's agent. I got a call about an hour later from the agent who referred that guy to me and said, man, I've never had any loan officer do any of those things for me. And so he closes a handful, not more than 5 or 6 buyer sides a year.
Yeah.
But I had one referral since then from him that they're out shopping right now. And that wasn't a, hey, here's 3 people. It was a text message. Hey, this is Sean. He's my guy. And then that realtor who referred him to me was like, wow, man, I really need to meet with him. Like, I've never had anybody do that. And so, dude, I'm his guy forever now. Like, you can have a realtor who closes 15 deals a year, but if you only get a third of them, or you've got, you're always competing against somebody else. If you've got somebody who's closing 5 deals a year, and they're like, this is my guy. Like, it's the same. If they're that loyal to what your point was, Kellen.
Yep. 100%, man. I think you're on it. So as we kind of wrap up here, I think the message is like, if I'm a loan officer and I'm out there and maybe I'm frustrated that I'm not getting the business that I want from these agents. And I would say to you, like, what's your allocation look like? Are you spending too little time or too much time? Too little time with the wrong agents and too much time with the wrong agents, right? So really hone in on that piece of it. And the second thing, to Sean's point, is ask for the business. There is no reason now in this market to not be bold and ask for the business, because I think, to your point, Sean, you're going to get an honest answer back, and that honest answer is going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And so in your example, right, where they're like, well, my brother-in-law's or my brother's a lender, and that's who I send my business to. Awesome. Hey, thank you for letting me know. I'm now moving them to that low touch tier, dropping them in my Facebook group and leaving them on my email drip. But that's it, right? And if the brother or brother-in-law screws up at some point, maybe I'm next up to bat, but I'm not going to go spend my energy and effort on that. So I think you guys have to be really careful. We all have the same amount of time to go chase these prospective referral partners, and you just want to make sure that time is spent as efficient as possible. So great conversation. And listen, hit us up, let us know, drop a comment. By the way, you can watch this video on YouTube, drop a comment there, or send us a message and let us know if you guys have any other questions about this thing. Sean, anything else to wrap up?
Hey, we appreciate you all. Kellen, as always, it's a pleasure when I get to see you, even if it's only virtually. Again, we've created this podcast to give you real tactics that we're using today and every day to grow our business. So let us know what you think. Reach out to us. We appreciate you all. We love you all. Peace out.
Peace. Thanks, everyone. See you.